Welcome back to Home Gym Hacks and Reviews. Today is part 2 in my high intensity training series. Stay tuned. Today is my shoulder emphasis upper body push day, and normally I would have an incline press as my main shoulder exercise, but because I've been working around and rehabbing recent shoulder injury, I instead am going to have a decline press as my main push exercise, and luckily it still does work the shoulders to some degree. I've already done all of my shoulder rehab exercises. Most of those are from the book Rebuilding Milo, and now I'm warming up with my first compound exercise, and I'm not doing many reps, and I'm not going very heavy, but just enough to warm up all of the connective tissue and to prep the muscles for the heavier weight. All of my warm-up sets are complete on the decline press. My first work set is actually over on the functional trainer fly, and I'm going to go to all-out failure over here to pre-exhaust the chest, and then I'm going to immediately head back over to the decline press and do as many reps as I can to failure. On the decline press, I have 4 45s and 2 10s, and luckily by pre-exhausting my chest on the fly, I don't have to go as heavy on my compound exercise. I go from kind of like a medium to low fly, which again seems to be easier on my shoulders. I started this HIIT routine about 3 months ago, and early on I was seeing decent progress. I was beating the logbook, the scale was going up, and then I got very sick for about 2 weeks. I wasn't able to train, and I didn't have energy for much of anything. This was incredibly frustrating. However, I took this time to read as much about HIIT as possible. There are a lot of good books and DVDs for anyone who likes to totally immerse themselves into topics they find interesting. The very first HIIT book I ever read was Ellington Darden's The New High Intensity Training. This was about 20 years ago. The cover suggests you can add up to 18 pounds of muscle in just 2 weeks. That caption was enough to make me park myself in the Books A Million bookstore for the next hour or two. I found the philosophy and stories about Arnold, Casey Viator, and Arthur Jones fascinating. As a broke college kid, I had to be pretty careful with my money, but I bought this book. After reading it front to back and taking notes, I started the HIIT routine that is outlined, and it's a full body routine done about 3 times a week. I saw decent results, but I didn't take a break from training when I was supposed to, and I burned out. I ended up learning about DC shortly after this HIIT experiment, which turned out to flow pretty well together because I think DC is a form of HIIT training. Another HIIT book I read around the same time was High Intensity Training the Mike Mentzer Way. After recently rereading this book, I think this is probably the best book for someone who only wants to read one HIIT book. I think it covers the topic nicely and succinctly. I was lucky enough to find copies of Heavy Duty 1 and 2 on eBay, and I think both are great books, but they are expensive and hard to find because they're out of print. Mentzer really had a way with words and an interesting philosophical approach to life, but not everyone will be as interested in this as his training philosophy. Heavy Duty 2 and The Wisdom of Mike Mentzer cover a lot of his philosophical beliefs and how he blends objectivism with strength training. Dorian Yates' book, A Warrior's Way, is another great read. That was tough. I think my weight was a bit too light on the fly because I got 15, but it was a good set nonetheless. My next back-to-back exercises are the chain lateral raise, which is probably my favorite shoulder exercise, and it's actually a hack. If you want to know any more about it, I have a couple of videos on it. And then I'm going to immediately come over here and do the dumbbell lateral raise. Over here, I've gone from the 17s to today, the 20s. And over here, last time I did this exercise, I had it at 50 pounds 8 times. So I'm still at 50 pounds, but I hope to beat 8. Here we go. This shoulder injury in one way was a blessing in the fact it got me back to HIIT training for reasons I mentioned in video 1. However, it is an injury that doesn't want to go away. As soon as it starts feeling better, I'll swat at a bug or throw a rock, and it's like I'm back to square one. The exercises in Rebuilding Milo have been helpful. Dante Trudell's broomstick exercise has been helpful, but the Titan Fitness Pec Fly rear delt machine has been the most helpful. Chest day used to be my favorite, but with this shoulder injury, it's now my least favorite. When I feel pain in the shoulder, it messes with my focus for the remainder of the workout. It wasn't pretty, but I got it. All right. The chain and seated dumbbell lateral raise are putting me at the lower end of my preferred rep range. I normally like to be in the 10 to 15 range for a much better mind and muscle connection. 6 seated, and now to standing. By going from a seated lateral raise to a standing, I am able to eke out a few extra reps and extend this set a little longer, and the pulses at the end of this set are just another way to extend the set a little bit longer and hopefully add a little bit of extra hypertrophy to these shoulders. I'm happy with that. Next, I'm doing one warm-up set of push-downs with the Prime Fitness rotate handles, and then I'll move on to my work set for this exercise. Immediately after that, I'll move over to my dip station and do as many dips as I can. And again, this exercise is to pre-exhaust my triceps before I head over to the dip compound exercise, and it's so that I don't have to go so heavy on the dips. I have 245s on here. Last time I got 11. Plateauing can be frustrating, but it's going to happen on every single exercise. If it didn't, we'd all be bench pressing 1,000 pounds. For me, if I cannot beat the logbook 2 or 3 times in a row on a given exercise, I'll simply swap it out for another exercise or change features about the exercise. For example, on the squat max, rather than use it in the traditional way, I'll add the transformer pin, or add bands to a machine, or change an attachment on the cable pull down or cable tricep push down. Swapping out exercises after plateauing also keeps things fresh, but I recommend keeping the same exercises and beating the logbook on those exercises for as long as possible for the best results. 13, I'm happy with that. After that set of pushdowns, I'm immediately moving over to the dips. Mike Mentzer called the dip the upper body squat, and I think it's a great exercise for chest, shoulders, and triceps if your shoulders can handle it. If the transition from up to down hurts, a stop and go where your feet hit the ground at the transition point of every rep may work for you. On this set, I am now getting too many reps, even with a pre-exhaust exercise, so the next time this exercise comes around, I will need to add the Iron Master plate-loaded vest to get back to around the 12 rep range. The plate-loaded vest goes as heavy as 80 pounds, and I can increase the weight in increments as small as 2.5 and 5 pounds, making it a great progressive overload tool. A dip belt is another great alternative to having a weighted vest at your disposal. 21, I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to immediately work on some negative only dips. As with all of my strength bands, this black band is from Elite FTS. I am trying to overload the negative portion of the dip. I use techniques like this sparingly because I don't want to overtrain and I don't want to get too run down. But from time to time, I think these techniques can help with hypertrophy. I also use the rest pause technique, which is a big part of DC training. I use drop sets, and I would use forced reps if I trained with a partner. Again, all of these techniques are used sparingly because the HIT program is already demanding enough, and these techniques could potentially cause burnout if they're overdone. I am using the Powertec VKR, which stands for vertical knee raise, and if it looks like it's wobbling a little bit, it's just because the garage is slanted and I need to put something under one of the feet. And that's it, 6 exercises and 6 work sets. I feel like I've taxed my chest, shoulders, and triceps as good as I need to, so I don't see the point in doing any more. I hope you found this video helpful. Part 3 will be coming soon. If you did find this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. If you haven't seen part 1, check that out. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Home Gym Hacks and Reviews. If any of my videos or reviews have helped you, please consider using one of my affiliate links. Those could save you some money, and it's at no additional cost to you. And remember, if your equipment lacks, I got the hacks. Take care, everyone.